Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 released on August 18th, 2020, and there was no way I wasn't going to get it and possibly make a video in it. So without hesitation, I went ahead and purchased the flight sim. After having my laptop updating the program all night, I loaded into my home airport for the first time to find out my PC was too slow. I had already ordered a joystick and the flight sim itself, so I needed to be able to play. So the next day, I found myself on Facebook Marketplace searching for PCs. We came across a gaming PC which cost around $700, and you may be thinking, that's a lot. Well, yeah, but definitely not for a gaming PC with a Core i7, GTX 1070, 16GB of RAM, 500 gigs of disk space, and Windows 10 pre-installed, which aren't the best specs for a gaming PC in 2020, but it was definitely better than the laptop I already had. A little skeptical, we went onto the ad and read a little more about the product. Apparently the sellers were 3 university students who built PCs part-time. They also claimed how they got all their components in bulk, and that's how they could afford to sell these gaming PCs at these competitive prices. And that's what got me. It took a few days to decide whether it was a good idea if I should order it or not, but I was desperate to try out the new flight sim, so we went ahead and ordered it. The PC shipped the day we ordered it and arrived 2 days later. I brought it down to my room, plugged it in, and booted it up for the first time. I didn't know much about computers or how to build them, but everything seemed fine, other than the hard drive and SSD, which were just hanging there by only one screw. I found my old monitor and connected it to the computer. I started up Windows, and I was all set. However, I could not access the internet since there was no Wi-Fi card and I didn't have any way to connect Ethernet. So I just explored the settings and went into File Explorer to see if everything was legitimate. But apparently the hard drive folder stated it only had 280 gigs, which was half of what was advertised. It seemed a little sus, if you know what I mean. But it was late, so I decided to go to bed and deal with it the next day. So I woke up the next morning and decided to remove the glass panel from the case. I had a feeling I should investigate the hard drive situation. I brought the computer upstairs so I could remove the hard drive and take a look at it. The faded labels stated that the hard drive was from 2009, which was more than 11 years ago. I also found out its capacity was 320 gigs, unlike the 500 gigs advertised. To be able to play Flight Sim 2020 and edit videos, I needed a lot more disk space. So I went online and searched for new hard drives. I didn't know any of the cable types for hard drives, and neither did anyone else in my family, and we needed to know so we knew which type of hard drive to get. However, my brother from the LS Motion YouTube channel has a good friend who knows a lot about PCs, and maybe he could help. So we took the PC down to his house. Over at his house, we investigated the build. We took out the hard drives and he easily figured out the cable type. For some reason, we attempted to boot up the computer with one of his monitors. However, nothing happened. The PC would boot up, but the monitor wouldn't catch the signal. Now, this was a bit of a problem. We tried another monitor and still nothing happened. We removed the RAM sticks and graphics card to see what was going on behind, but nothing looked wrong, so we put everything back in. After being there for 3 hours, the only thing we could do was send it back to the seller so they could fix the problem. However, the friend told us it wasn't worth fixing. There was a hell lot of screws missing, most of the components were extremely dated, and there was no monitor signal in general. So we got in contact with the seller via Facebook. They responded right away as always, and we sent the computer back to Vancouver so it could be fixed. A few days later, the seller contacted us saying all he had to do was switch the RAM sticks locations. So he sent it back to us in no time, after upgrading the hard drive to a 1TB one, as we asked. As soon as the machine arrived for the second time, I took it down to my room. And of course, I had to keep people updated, so the first thing I did was take a pic of the build and post it on Instagram. I had the photo already posted when I realized something was off. I took a closer look at the photo and noticed a graphics card was out of place. So I turned to the real thing, which was on the floor behind me. I removed the glass panel to find the 1070 just sitting in its case, not connected to anything but its cable that led somewhere else in the computer. Since mailing it back to the seller, I had done a lot of research and watched too many videos related to PC stuff, and had gotten a whole lot more familiar with each and every component, unlike before. And this was obviously sus, having the GPU just floating in its case. Well, at least we got the 1TB hard drive, which which was also disconnected from its location and was still from 2011. Once again, I was getting really skeptical and even more skeptical than last time. So I put the graphics card back in its place and booted the PC up again. Fortunately, my monitor would get a signal. Unfortunately, my mouse and keyboard wouldn't. I genuinely didn't know what to do, so after a lot of talking with my parents for the next few days, I finally composed an email asking for a refund. It took me 2 days to think of everything I said, and when I finally sent it, even more things happened. Our Facebook account was blocked by the seller, and they took down the ad itself on Facebook. However, a moment later, we found ourselves on another identical ad that happened to be from the same group of people. But after one direct message, the ad was taken down and we were blocked. Again. I knew I was doomed and I could not do anything about the fact that I was scammed. And to make things worse, I had already bought a new monitor, keyboard, and cables with the help of my brother from Ellis Motion. So I really didn't want these scammers to get away with this. There was one more thing we could do, and that was to get in contact with PayPal and ask for our money back, because that's what they claim they will do if someone gets scammed online. However, after one message and a phone call, PayPal denied our refund, and that left me screwed. For the next 2 months, I had the computer sit by a wall in my room picking up dust. It was practically unusable, and my laptop was at a point where I couldn't edit 1080p footage at a quarter of the resolution, which is basically my job. I began feeling the need for a more powerful PC, and since I finally got almost enough money, this time I was considering building my own PC, as I am now familiar with every component needed. Fortunately, a fan and friend by the name of Velocity Plays tried to help. He gave tips and ideas for building PCs, since he had built his own, which was nice, but we ended up finding one of my parents' friend's friend who ran a business that builds PCs, which was perfect. Since the build was well over my budget, we just figured we'd use the graphics card from the scam PC. And about a week later, the new PC was ready. Okay, so I almost hesitated to upload this video ranting about a few students innocently trying to make me a computer. But after realizing they were trying to sell me a graphics card that didn't even work, I had no more mercy. So I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I think we've learned our lesson. Or should have a long time ago. Don't buy things like that online, especially Facebook Marketplace, and especially if you aren't able to see it yourself before purchasing. Okay, bye.